Tonight, your speaker is Lisa Lovejoy, a multi-care registered dietitian with a background in fitness. Her passion is helping athletes at all levels reach their maximum performance. She's worked with clients ranging from weekend warriors and high school athletes to competitive adults and professional sports teams. So Lisa, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Angela, and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your busy Wednesday evening to spend some time listening and talking about nutrition for your sports. I know that weeknights are crazy busy. If you are parents or soccer players yourselves, you're probably juggling dinner and homework, maybe, if school's not out yet, and soccer practice and all of those things. In addition, I know it's the end of the school year, which is just a crazy, nutsy time. So thank you for being here. As Angela mentioned, I am a sports dietitian. I've been doing this for quite a while. I've worked with lots of different athletes in lots of different sports at all different levels, including I am a soccer mom myself. I have 4 young adults who were soccer players for years and years and years. So I love soccer. And in addition to my professional information, I'm also speaking kind of from my personal experience. I was the mom toting around a cooler full of chocolate milks and a bag of granola bars to soccer tournaments. So I'll share with you some of my experience as well. Let me see here. One thing I didn't check on is how to change my slides, how to advance it. Did that work, Angela? Okay. All right. Very good. So starting off with sports nutrition, why is nutrition important? Every single athlete, no matter what sport you play, you may have different equipment. You may ride on a bicycle, you may wear cleats and kick a ball, you may wear tennis shoes and run marathons. But the one piece of equipment that is common for every single sport is your body. And how, when, why you fuel that body will impact your performance. So sports nutrition is important for every single athlete. Sometimes races and games are won in the final moments or seconds. So the athletes who have the ability and the energy to push to the very last buzzer, finish line, what have you, have an advantage over somebody who didn't use nutrition as part of their training plan. And then the last point on this slide, kids who are well nourished have more fun playing soccer. Cyclists who are better energized and better fueled for their rides have more fun doing what they're doing. So my next couple of slides I created for when I give this presentation in person, and I usually do it as a tell me what you see. Since you're all appropriately muted, I'll just tell you when I put this slide up and say, what do you see here? The responses that I get are a car. What kind of car? The exact make and model doesn't matter, but it's a blue car, it's an old car, it's a beater car, it has 4 wheels. If we assume that all the parts of this car work and it goes, this car would do its basic function. It would get you from home to school, school to practice, practice to a friend's house. And the fuel that makes this car go is gas. For this kind of car, it's kind of old, it's a little beat up. It works, it's not going to probably win any races. General appropriate fuel would be just kind of unleaded gas. You pull up to the gas station and put the cheap stuff in, and this car would do its basic function. If we look at this car, when I ask, what do you see here? I also get a car, a blue car. It has 4 wheels, but I get things like, ooh, that's a fancy car. That looks like a race car. That's a performance vehicle. If we raced this car against the previous car, we might expect this car to perform better. And if we think about the gas or the fuel that goes into this car, if we took it to the Shell station and put the basic cheap gas in, it would still go. It would still do its basic job, but it's not going to perform its best. If we want this car to perform its absolute best, we needed to put something better in it. We put better fuel in here, premium gas, because we're expecting this car to perform better. So you see where I'm headed with this? If we think about our body as the car and food as the fuel that goes into our car, what we put into our bodies to fuel it will impact its performance. As I mentioned, I have 4 kids. I've spent a lot of time around a lot of teenagers and young people. A lot of them eat foods like we see on the left here. Junk food, sodas, burgers, fries, fast food. I would throw energy drinks in there now. Those are things that give you some sustenance, but they're not super great for your performance. I can almost guarantee that if you put more food that looks like what's on the right, a wide variety of fresh whole foods is kind of the way I say that. If you put better quality food in, I can almost guarantee that you will feel better and perform better. So if we think about how do we know, uh-oh, I lost one. Sorry, I'm still working out the technology on this. Now I see my slides. So we think about what our goals are. Each of you might have individual and personal goals, and I would encourage you to think about what are your goals in your sport and in your nutritional practices. For the sake of tonight's presentation, I'm going to assume that all of you as athletes have goals of performing well and enjoying what you're doing when you're playing your sport. So from a sports nutrition perspective, we're going to talk about providing the right food at the right time. How do we know what that right food is? You can see here, again, the key phrase that I used was a wide variety of fresh whole food. All of the things you see here represent the different food groups. They all come from plants and animals that we can identify, and there's a good variety there. Your basic training diet, which is not necessarily a diet like a 4-letter word, as something you go on to go off at some point. I'm using the word diet right now, just being what you eat all day, every day. People ask me all the time, what should I eat before a game, before a race, before an event to help me perform my best? And I can give you suggestions and tips on that. We'll get to those later on in the presentation. But really the biggest thing you can do is train well and eat well on the days that you're not competing. There is nothing you can do on event day that's going to make up for a poor diet, poor nutrition, all the rest of the days of the week. So really simply, if you don't remember anything else about what you want to be aiming for all day, every day, we want to aim for 3 words: eat real food. What I mean when I say eat real food is, can you tell just from looking at it what plant or animal your food came from? So for example, behind the letters on this slide, you can see the pictures at the top. I see fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables grow in the ground on trees and bushes. We can identify really easily where those came from. They don't even need a label to tell us what's in them. On the second one behind the letters, we can see some meats. We can see that salmon came from a fish and steak came from a cow. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but you get the idea, right? Sometimes we have to think a little bit more about it, like cheese. Cheese comes from milk, which came from a cow. So that's still pretty easy to identify which plant or animal it came from. I won't ask you to put it in the chat, but maybe you want to think about right now, what was the last thing you ate? Can you tell just from thinking about it what plant or animal it came from? If not, maybe think about something else you could have had that would have been real food instead. For some other examples of what this looks like in the eat real food category, it means eating more of the things that are on the left. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, eggs, dairy foods like milk and yogurt and cottage cheese, lean meats that can come from any animal like cows and pigs and chickens. They don't have to come from animals. You can get protein foods, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, from nuts and beans and seeds. Or we can combine these foods in all sorts of different permutations to make things like sandwiches and pasta dishes, soups, smoothies, burritos, as long as we're aiming for most of those ingredients being those real foods that we can tell where they came from. Things we want to have less frequently or less often or less of would be more refined foods. Things like white bread, crackers, chips, snack foods like pretzels and chips. Sugar in all sorts of forms. Sodas, sweetened teas, energy drinks that have a lot of refined sugar in them, fried foods that are going to be greasy and fatty and have probably extra salt in them, and then convenience foods. And I know, again, from having eaten with and fed a lot of young people, this is a very popular category. And these are frozen meals, snacks, things like pizza, chicken tenders, pizza rolls, mac and cheese, basically anything you would cook in an air fryer as a young person on your own, and then fast food. Notice that the categories at the top don't say don't eat this or only eat that. It says eat more of these things and less of these items. There's nothing you can never have. There's nothing you have to have in order to have a healthy, nutritious intake. So once we have the basics down of generally what we're aiming for, we can start looking a little bit more specifically at where our foods are, what our foods are providing. Carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Carbohydrates get a lot of press. A lot of it is negative. I hear lots and lots of things, both just in existing in the world and people in my office saying, oh no, I can't eat carbs. Carbs are bad. Carbs make you gain weight. Carbs aren't good for you. As an athlete, I'm going to tell you 100% that's not true. Carbohydrates are the energy for your muscles, for our bodies, and for your brains. The issue is that not all carbs are created equal. On one hand, we have things that I call quality carbs, and those are things that look very much like the last list you saw. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy foods, beans. They have quality carbohydrates. Then in addition to giving us energy and carbohydrate for fuel, they give us vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, a whole lot of really good nutritional stuff. On the other hand, we have what I call garbage carbs. And these are things that also give us carbohydrates. They will provide some energy for our cells, but not a whole lot of nutrients, not much fiber, not much in the antioxidant category. And those foods, again, are things that are refined white flour, refined sugar, especially drinks. We can drink a whole lot of extra sugar in the beverages that we consume, and then processed foods. You can see from the pictures here that these also go pretty well with the eat real food. Can you tell where your food came from idea? On the left, apples and bananas and oranges grow on trees. Carrots and potatoes grow in the ground. On the right-hand side, I have not seen a French fry tree or a Skittles tree or donuts hanging on trees other than maybe as a decoration at a party. So also fits in with the eat real food. Can you tell where it came from? Guidance. Some of those quality carbohydrates that you might want to try to fuel your activity would be fruit in any form. Apples and bananas and oranges come in their own wrappers. Fresh fruit is always a packable option. If that isn't super handy for you, canned fruit, fruit cups, applesauce pouches. The applesauce pouches that don't even require a spoon, you can just squeeze them in your mouth, are great packable sports snack. Dried fruit is also very convenient and packable. Raisins, craisins, apricots could be mixed in maybe with a trail mix. Vegetables also, a lot of them are tasty raw. A salad, baby carrots, mini peppers. There are grains and whole grains. Whole grains have more fiber. It's going to be more nutritious for you. And that could come in the form of whole wheat bread, tortillas, protein pasta, brown rice, popcorn. Fun fact, corn is not a vegetable. It's actually a grain. Popcorn is a whole grain, so popcorn is a great whole grain snack any time of day. Oatmeal, anything made with oatmeal. Cereal, again, a great whole grain meal, a mini meal or snack any time of day. Granola are sports bars that are grain-based. Some granola bars, some sports bars are kind of dressed up candy bars. Again, thinking about, can you tell what it's made out of? If your granola bar or your protein bar or your fill in the blank bar is covered with chocolate and you can't really see what's in it, then that's more likely to be more highly processed and less like the real food. If you have a kind bar that looks like fruit and nuts stuck together with honey, that fits the category. Dairy foods, milk, chocolate milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, legumes like beans or hummus, things that are made with legumes or beans. And then sports nutritionals, which we'll talk about towards the end, carbohydrate electrolyte drinks, which are just sports drinks, things that have carbohydrates and sodium and potassium in them. These are the kind of things that will fuel your activity. In addition to carbohydrates, protein is important. Protein kind of takes center stage in the gym a lot of the time. People think that just eating protein is going to build your muscles and give you strong muscles. Yes, protein is necessary for building muscles, but also energy and physical activity, some sort of resistance work is necessary to build muscles. And guess what those muscles use for energy? Carbohydrates. So carbs and protein are both important. Food sources of protein would be meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and anything made with dairy. So milk, yogurt, cottage cheese again. If you choose not to consume animal products or limit your animal product intake, it's still totally possible to meet your protein needs. You would just need to rely more heavily on whole grains that have a higher protein content like quinoa, or nuts and legumes and anything made with those. So soybeans are a legume and soy is a great protein source, as is anything that's made with soy. Soy milk, tofu, tempeh, those types of things, great non-animal plant sources of protein. Once we've dialed in what foods we're eating, real food, quality proteins, quality carbohydrates, we can start talking about when we eat these foods. What time do we want to eat these foods in order to maximize both our health and our performance? Meal timing to support your training or competition. We want to give our bodies the energy that it needs, but we also want to have enough time to digest and absorb that food. So ideally, we want to have our pre-workout or pre-practice, pre-game, pre-event meal about 3 hours before the event starts. So this is where we need to start thinking about what our event is, what time of day it's happening, and what we need to do in order to be able to fuel our bodies well to be ready at the beginning of that event. So starting to think about soccer games. If you have a 9 o'clock soccer game and you have to be there at 8 for warm-ups, then actually by the numbers, your breakfast would probably need to be at 5 or 6 o'clock. I realize that not a lot of soccer players are going to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock to eat breakfast before their 9 o'clock game. So making sure that you have a good snack and a quality dinner the night before to fill your muscles with glycogen, which is a storage form of carbohydrate, would be really important. If you have an early event and you're not having that 3 hours to fuel your body before the event starts, then you want to look at that snack 1 hour prior. If you've eaten your pre-event meal 3 hours prior, you've pretty well digested it and you're absorbing it. You might even be a little bit hungry at the end of that 3 hour period. About an hour before your event, you might want to top off with a small, simple carbohydrate, easy to digest snack. And then right before the event, for a longer event, you might want to have just a little top off of some quality carbohydrate or maybe a sports electrolyte beverage at that point. Speaking of beverages, hydration is really important. Part of our training diet per se, just what we do all day, every day, we want to make sure we're drinking plenty of fluid to keep our bodies well hydrated. Water delivers nutrients, helps us get rid of waste, helps us manage and monitor our body temperature, which as the sun is finally coming out and it's getting warmer here, especially if you're running around and playing sports, making sure that you're well hydrated all the time is important, but especially on game and practice days. So in this time before, you want to think about making sure that you're adequately hydrated. And we want to aim to have 2 cups, 16 ounces of water or other liquid about an hour or so before. That gives time for your body to absorb what you need and for you to excrete anything that you don't need right before your event starts. So thinking about what you might have in that time right before, I mentioned focus on easily digested carbohydrates, but a lot of times people are like, I don't know, what food would that be? So things that would be great for that pre-game, pre-event snack, these are things that are going to be easily digested, easy for your body to absorb, and are giving you some simple carbohydrates that can be used for energy really quickly. You might notice as you're looking at this list, and I'll read through it, that it sounds like there's kind of some more sugar in these foods. And that's actually true. Our training diet, training nutrition, what we're doing all day, every day, we want to stay away from a whole bunch of added sugar and aim for foods that have more nutritional value. But when we're getting closer to event time, we want to make sure that that energy is readily available. And sometimes that comes more in the form of sugar that our body can use right away. It's great if it comes from natural sources like oranges, grapes, applesauce, fruit, oatmeal, bananas, milk, those kinds of things. But also this is where there could be a time and a place for a sports drink. Gatorade, Powerade, Body Armor, there are a whole bunch of them out there. When we are looking at pregame, or even more importantly, when we're looking at what you're consuming during the event, actually having some real sugar is helpful. Remember, when we're consuming these things, we're looking for energy that's available to our bodies right away. So if you're drinking G2 that is artificially sweetened, or Gatorade Zero that has no real sugar in it, it's sweetened with chemicals, or artificial or non-nutritive sweeteners, it's not actually giving you the energy. It's great for hydration, but not providing a lot of energy. I'm sure I will get questions about that. I also forgot to say at the beginning, I will leave time for questions at the end. So if you have them, type them in the chat or jot them down or remember them, and I will answer those at the end. Other things that might be pre-game snacks would be a granola or a sports bar. We kind of talked about aiming for the real food. And these, you could have something that's a little bit more sugar-based. Like, fun fact, Cliff Bars, people think of those as sports nutritionals, They were actually created for cyclists as something that would be dense in energy and have quick, readily available sugar that could be slipped into the jersey of a cyclist's uniform and be eaten along the way. The first ingredient in Clif Bars is sugar. Brown rice syrup is what it says, but that's a form of sugar. So we're aiming for things that have some energy that's going to give us that energy we need during the activity. Rice Krispie Treats are a fan favorite. They're made out of rice, so for people who need to follow a gluten-free diet, they do not contain gluten. They are quick and easy. There's a little bit of extra sugar in the marshmallows. Most people like them. So, and they're also easy to digest. So that's has been traditionally a favorite at my house. Oatmeal cookies, Fig Newtons, also sugary, but there's a little bit more nutritional value than, say, an Oreo. Notice those are not on my list. Those are really highly processed. So those would be down lower on my list, but actually in a pinch, an Oreo would be better than not eating. Now, caveat on that, this is not the dietitian saying you should eat Oreos all the time or that Oreos are your ideal pre-event snack, but I am saying that in a pinch, it would be better than nothing. Also, that goes for Snickers or a chocolate bar. I'm not suggesting that you have a king-size Snicker bar before your soccer game, but I am suggesting that if you want something that's quick and easy and packable, a bite size or a fun size, the ones that you get if you go trick-or-treating, the little ones, that could be a way to get a little bit of sugar coming in. And it's in something that people tend to like, and they're more willing to do that than if I say eat a handful of grapes before your soccer game. Sports nutritionals, these are things like goos and gels and beans. By beans, I mean like jelly beans, Jelly Bellies. If anyone has seen the little packets of sport beans, those are actually made by the Jelly Belly company. They are exactly the same as the jelly beans that the Easter Bunny brings. So that's a quick and easy packable form of sugar. It also doesn't melt like a Snickers bar does. Skittles are good for that too. And then down at the bottom, if you want a little bit more hearty snack, something like a half a sandwich or toast with peanut butter and honey would be something that's fairly easy to digest, but is going to give you a little bit of protein and some quality carbohydrate. So now that we have fueled our bodies well during the week so that we are ready for practice and competition, we've had our pre-event meal 3 hours before, a snack right before if we need it. What about during competition? If your sporting event lasts for an hour or less, you're probably just fine with water. You might sip on a little bit of a sports drink as well. Soccer players, when they created the sport of soccer, nobody was thinking about sports nutrition. If we think about what I just said, about an hour is we're probably fine with just water. Soccer only has one water break typically, and that's at halftime. The only opportunity that you would have to fuel a little bit would also be at that short halftime break halfway through. And I don't remember exactly where the where games go to 45-minute halves. I want to say like U12-ish. But when you get to that time where you're playing 45-minute halves, if you are playing the whole game, you're playing, you are running, you are asking your body to perform for an hour and a half. So sometimes having something during the game can be actually really helpful. Again, in soccer games, you only have halftime as that opportunity. You do need to be mindful of what the rules are on the field. If you're playing on turf, they probably don't want you to have snacks. Some of them don't even allow sports drinks. So you might need to go off to the sideline to have a bite of something or to have something that has a little bit of carbohydrate in it. And also water, water, water. That's allowed on every single field. So well-fueled muscles, if you fill up your tank, we're talking about my car analogy again. If you fill up your tank well beforehand, you'll do well until at least halftime. But at halftime, especially if you're playing longer games, my cyclist out there, if you are doing longer events that last more than an hour and a half, and more than an hour, sorry, you want to have some energy coming in. That's why Clif Bars were created. So we want to make sure that a little bit of energy, a little bit of carbohydrate is coming in for events that are more than about an hour, which would be at halftime. Fun story, my daughter played rec soccer. She was on a team that, they just weren't super competitive in the first place, but they also had really not super great nutritional habits. It was not uncommon for the girls to roll up to a game and pile out of whoever's driving the carpool van with a half-drunk Frappuccino, and that was their breakfast, and now they were coming to play soccer. And they did fine in the first half of the game, but every single time in the second half of the game, you could just see their energy levels dip. So I, as a mom and a sports dietitian, was like, hey, coach, can I try something? Would it be okay? It was in October around Halloween. I was like, would it be okay if I gave the girls one small candy at halftime just to see what happens? And he wasn't sure I knew what I was talking about, but I showed up with a basket of candy. Each girl got one small bite-sized, fun-sized candy at halftime. They thought it was super fun to eat candy at halftime. And that game, you could see visibly their energy levels were better in the second half of the game. So it doesn't have to be a candy bar. It could be a sports beverage. It could be a handful of grapes. When I worked with the Reign, we would have peeled clementines and cups of grapes and peeled banana halves. And so they ate fruit at halftime. Again, quick, easy, easily digestible, quality carbohydrate to give your body energy to play and have all the energy that you can at the very end of the game, same as you had at the beginning. So fueling during can be really helpful. Some other suggestions on what that might be. Sorry, this slide is a little bit harder to see everything. I let the designer take over here and it made it look cool, but we can't always see what it is. So these are examples of 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate. You don't need to remember the numbers, but that's by the science, how much our bodies can digest and absorb to be able to utilize during physical activity. We use way more than that. We're not going to be filling our tank all the way back up to the top if we're doing this, but it's just to give our bodies enough so that we have energy to push till the end of the game. Examples of this 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate would be a 20-ounce Gatorade. Remember, that's the real Gatorade, the original. You can pick the flavor. One packet of goo. If people know what goo is, it's a little packet. Runners use them a lot, and you can just kind of tear off the top and squeeze it in your mouth. It's a lot like a wad of frosting. If you do that, make sure you try it not on game day because some people's stomachs don't like that much all at one time. And for everybody, if you use goo or gels, make sure you drink plenty of water with it. It'll help digest, it'll help dilute it so that you're not having such a concentrated wad of sugar all at one time. Up on the top left, if you'd like a little bit more natural version of that, untapped maple syrup comes in those same little tear top packet, and it's closer to its original form. We don't know what exactly, you can look at the label to see what's in a goo, but you don't find that in nature. Maple syrup comes from a maple tree, so that's pretty close to its original form. There's a picture of the Jelly Belly sport beans, the twist top Go-Go Squeezes. Go-Go Squeeze, I was just at a conference about a week ago, and they have now come out with a sports squeeze. And it's basically the same thing. It's applesauce, but they've added a little bit of sodium, which is an electrolyte. It helps our bodies hold on to water. So you may look for those in the stores soon. Pictures of my Fig Newton and the Cliff Bar are up there. 3 to 5 Fig Newtons. Figs are a fruit. They're a little bit closer to their original form. You'll get more nutritional value out of a Fig Newton than you would an Oreo or a jelly bean. Cliff Bar is listed, and then some different fruits and the amounts that would be appropriate. When we come back to thinking about hydration, this is also really important. Remember, now we're talking about during the activity, during your event. We want to aim for 8 to 12 cups daily, making sure that we get in the habit of hydrating well, especially again, as the weather's getting warmer, as we're outside running around, the higher the temperature is, the more exercise we're doing or physical activity, the more our bodies need hydration. When we're talking about performance, being dehydrated will affect your performance negatively faster than anything else. We can't really rely on thirst to guide us during activity or honestly during the day as well. By the time we feel thirsty, our thirst receptors kick in when we're 2 to 3% dehydrated. Our performance is negatively impacted when we're 1 to 2% dehydrated. So by the time you feel thirsty, you're already behind in hydration, and that can impact your performance. It impacts it by things feeling harder. If it feels harder to run down the field, you're not going to get there as quickly. Also for goalies, if you are dehydrated, your brain doesn't make decisions as quickly as it could. If you don't have enough carbohydrate for your brain fuel, you don't make decisions as quickly as you can. So even for goalies who are not running up and down the field, you also need good hydration and adequate nutrition. Carbohydrates are everyone's friend. I mentioned that a couple of hours prior to your activity, you want to have a couple cups of water so that you can absorb what you need and excrete what you don't. We want to aim for, by the numbers, another cup, 8 ounces, right before you take the field. And then during activity, this is the science of nutrition, which is going to bump up against the art of playing soccer in just a second. The recommendation is 5 to 10 ounces, which is 3 to 6 big gulps every 15 to 20 minutes during exercise or activity. Soccer players, you don't get a break every 15 to 20 minutes, so it's hard to do this. Cyclists, you can do better with this because it's easier to drink water while you're riding a bike. Also, runners, when they follow these guidelines, it ends up being a lot of water, and there's a lot of slushing that happens. If you try to make up for these hydration guidelines by drinking, 20 to 40 ounces at halftime, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for you. So train your gut to be used to drinking enough. Practice it. Take a sip every time you can. If there's a break in the action and you can slip over to the sideline without impacting play, maybe you could grab a sip of water then. But trying to drink as much water as you can during the activity would be great. On a technicality, if you are looking at your sweat rate, which you have to do by weighing yourself before and after activity, we want to replace fluid losses. Every pound that you lose during activity, you need to give back 24 ounces of water. 1 pound weighs 16 ounces, but we want to give back 1.5 times that much to allow for absorption and digestion of it. So again, you don't have to remember all those numbers. The important things from this slide are drink a lot of water during the day, have a couple cups right before or 2 hours before your activity, some more right before you start, and then a few swigs every opportunity that you get. Once we have fueled and hydrated well during our activity, we play our game, we celebrate afterwards, then it's time to think about recovery and what happens next. Recovery from exercise happens at the table. Right after we're physically active, after we exercise, after we compete in sports, there's a 15 to 60 minute window of opportunity where our bodies are primed and ready to refuel. So ideally, we want to take advantage of that and eat something within 15 to 60 minutes, within about an hour after activity. Aiming for 15 to 30 grams of protein and some quality carbohydrates in that time frame. What does 25 to 30 grams of protein look like? It looks like a 14-ounce bottle of filtered chocolate milk, like a Core Power drink. That has about 25 grams of protein in it. A 4-ounce hamburger has 28 grams of protein. So you do not need protein shakes and all sorts of excess protein, but a smoothie afterwards, a sandwich, a chocolate milk would be great. That's also going to give you the carbohydrate that your body could use, and it tastes good and it's readily available. So combining quality carbohydrates with a little bit of protein gives maximum benefit. Our bodies can absorb and utilize protein and carbohydrate after exercise when they're provided at the same time. If you hit that window of refueling within about 60 minutes, then you want to aim for your next actual meal or snack being within a couple of hours to continue replenishing and refueling your body for the next event. And then be mindful of the fact that rest and refueling are really important. Sometimes we have the opportunity to do that, like if you have practice multiple days in a week, if you have practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you fuel and refuel after your event or after practice on Monday, you can take Tuesday to rest and recover, refuel with good food, and then you're ready to go for Wednesday's practice. If we start thinking about soccer, we're coming into the summer season, which is tournament season. If you have 2 games on one day, if you have 2 games on one day and a game or 2, depending on how your team's doing on the second day, this recovery window becomes really important. Also, if you miss the recovery window, your body can still refuel. It just takes longer. So again, thinking about having multiple events on one day, if you have 2 games on one day or a couple games on a weekend, making sure that you are recovering and fueling your body well after the first game. That's your recovery window from that game, but it's also your planning and refueling for the next day or the next game. So as we start thinking about that, how are we going to make that happen? Thinking a little bit more about the logistics of game day, travel games, away games, tournaments where you might be playing multiple games in a day or 2. The biggest thing on that, You probably had some information about what your body likes, what it needs before we started this talk. I've given you a bunch of information. We now know what we should do, but that gap between what we know and what we do doesn't always get crossed. And the bridge between what we know and what we do is planning. So this is where we can start putting it into action and thinking about how are we going to get these good, healthy, nutritious foods that fuel our performance available for us before our game, in between the games on a tournament weekend. My take is everybody needs a lunchbox, which means we need to think about and pack our own foods. Things to think about on game day. What time is the event? How long does it take to get there? What time do you have to leave? If you have a 9 o'clock game in Issaquah and you have to be there at 8 for warm-ups, you probably need to leave home, depending on where you live. You need to leave 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Are you going to realistically get up and eat breakfast before you go? One advantage of that timing would be that you have to be up and awake 3 hours before your game. But if you or your kids are like mine, they were not getting up and sitting at the breakfast table eating at 6 a.m. before we got in the car to drive to Issaquah. So if you're not going to sit and have breakfast before you go, you're going to be in the car for a little while. Can you eat in the car? Probably. If you're going to eat in the car, where is that food going to come from? Driving through Starbucks, driving through McDonald's may or may not have great options for you. But if you pack it yourself, you can have all the wonderful options that you would want. So think about what you might want to have. If you're not going to pack your own foods, have you been there before? Do you know that there is a Starbucks or a bagel shop near where you're playing that'll give you enough time to get there, eat, and digest before the game starts? Is there a cooler available? Do you need to keep things cold? Think about that as the weather's getting warmer, and if you're going to be gone for a long time, how long that food will be sitting. And then the last one on here, what does your kid like? Not everybody likes the same thing. Not everybody thinks about it. So making sure that you pack things that you like that work well for your body would be a great way to make sure that you have what you need when you're traveling to an event. So that talks about what happens if you're just going to one game, might be an away game. It doesn't have to be an away game. Maybe you have siblings who also play soccer and you're going to be at the soccer field or 2 soccer local fields for an extended period of time. You might want to pack some snacks that would help pre-fuel the kid for the first game and refuel for the first game and then get ready for the second game. I guess in that example, I'm trying to say the first game would be refueling, the second game, it would be pre-fueling if 2 kids in different games are eating at the same time. Things get a little bit more complicated when you think about overnight travel. I know we're coming into tournament season and that usually involves travel. Again, thinking about the timing. What time do I need to leave? How long is it? How far are we going? Are we coming home that night or are we spending the night somewhere? What's available on the road? Is there an opportunity to refuel with a quality meal after your game? Do you even know that? What can you take with you? I have been the queen over time of packing coolers and snacks and lunches and even casseroles sometimes, or make ahead foods. You don't have to make it complicated. It can be grab and go things. I'll give you lots of suggestions on those in just a minute. But the point is, think about what you need and think about where it's going to come from. Also, when we're talking about staying in hotels, I guarantee if you are in Bellingham at whatever the hotel is near the soccer tournament, your team is not the only one staying at that hotel. There will be many, many, many soccer players down at breakfast in the morning. The hotel may or may not be ready for that. There may or may not be waffles available. There may or may not be cereal or yogurt or bananas or whatever you might be planning to have. So if you pack a cooler and you take it with you, you can have all the bananas and yogurt and granola bars that you like available to you. So packing your own, thinking about it, planning ahead is actually probably my second biggest thing for you to remember. Remember, the first one was eat real food. So if we are thinking about packing our snacks, what kinds of things are we going to take with us? We want to aim for things that are high in carbohydrates with a little bit of protein to give us what our bodies need. We want them to be easily packable, not require refrigeration unless you're taking a cooler, in which case that can count as your refrigerator, and be relatively simple to eat. Some examples might include a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That doesn't need to be refrigerated. You could also make a ham and cheese or a turkey and cheese sandwich, but that needs to be kept at least cool. Trail mix, you can buy prepared or packaged trail mix, or you can mix up your own. Kind nut bars and a piece of fruit, a different granola bar. Nature Valley bars are another one that's from the, can you tell what it's made out of just from looking at it or where it came from? It's oats. So they are stuck together with a little bit of honey. That's a good quality carbohydrate. That's pretty packable. Core Power, the picture is here. Core Power Fairlife milk is a filtered milk. That just means that they've sucked some of the water out of it. So everything that's left in it is more concentrated. Great packable protein, 26 grams of protein in one of these cartons you can see. Fairlife Company Core Power brand was the first one of these that came out. It's still pretty popular there at Costco, but also other companies are jumping on board now. So Darigold is another company that is pretty widely available. It's labeled as Darigold Fit. It's the same milk. It doesn't have to be any particular brand name. This is just the one that was most popular when I put these slides together. Other packable protein sources would be beef jerky with some carbohydrate in the form of fruit or crackers. Gatorade, which is going to give you some sugar, some carbohydrates, and some dried chickpeas, which would give you protein. Nuts, nut butters also will give you a little bit of protein. And then other kinds of bars, there are thousands of different kinds of bars. RX bars, Perfect bars, Kind bars. Those are Luna bars, are the ones that are made with more real food ingredients. But there are lots and lots of different options on bars. This one, there are a lot of words on this slide. This is one of the slides that is available as a handout that will be sent out to you after the presentation. So this is a list of fast fuel foods. I put this list together for athletes aiming for, it was for college athletes, so things that are pretty quick and easy, don't require a lot of preparation. A lot of them are grab and go things that are totally appropriate for younger athletes as well. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but you can take a look and see what might sound good to you, what might be packable and appealing for you and your sports nutrition bag. The next slide I have, this one is similar to the last one, except this one is from Costco. Most people shop at Costco or know somebody who shops at Costco. So I wandered up and down the aisles of Costco and wrote down all of the things that I saw at that visit. There are probably other options available now that would fit one of the categories and would fit into the guidelines of the recommendations that I'm making for you. So a lot of them are not surprises to people, like water bottles and Gatorade would be options that people might think of. Things that you might not be thinking of are taking beef jerky or Chomps or Landjägers. Those are packaged meat products that are a quality packable protein source. Other things on this list that tend to surprise people are the pre-event halftime items. Some of those things are sugar. The fruit strips, Black Forest gummy bears, Jelly Bellies, jelly beans, those are sugar. And this is where at halftime or right before the event, having something that's a little bit of sugar that you're actually going to consume would be giving your body that quick energy. That's it. Fruit bars, if you haven't seen those before, they're great. They're individually packaged and it's almost like a fruit-based granola bar. They're called That's It because the ingredients are apples and either mangoes, blueberries, pineapple, or strawberry. And that's it. 2 different kinds of fruit. So really close to their original form, real food, great quality carbohydrate. So that's kind of something else. If you haven't seen those, you might want to check them out. And this Costco list is also available to you afterwards. So as we begin to wrap things up, I want to point out that bodies get good at what they practice. If we practice not fueling our bodies very well, we kind of get good at it. I know all of you are already actually performing in your sports. So even if your food intake looked like that kind of junk food gas on one of the first few slides, you're performing in your sport. But if you practice fueling better, you'll get better at feeling better and performing better. So practice some of the things that we've talked about today, if you haven't been doing so already. I mentioned briefly not trying something new on game day. So I think I was talking about GU at that time. If you're trying anything that's significantly different than what you've been doing before you play, you might want to try it on a hard practice or a scrimmage day just to see how your body reacts. During a game is a really bad time to figure out that your body doesn't like goo. So try it on a training day or a scrimmage, nothing new on game day. Pack your own food so that you have what you want. Again, when you go to tournaments, your team is not the only one stopping at the 7-Eleven near the fields. So if you have a particular type of Gatorade that you like, maybe bring it with you. Practice what you're doing, train your gut to accept food and water. It also trains your brain to think about, oh, these are the foods and beverages that help me feel best when I'm playing. So I want to make sure that I have those with me. Also, when you're getting ready to go to practice or a game, you pack your bag. You make sure, for example, for soccer, you have your uniform, you have your shin guards, you have your cleats. So make sure that you include in that bag also a couple of packable snacks. Make sure there's a water bottle in there and that you fill it up before you go so that you have water handy. Thinking about what you need and practicing it. To wrap it up here, in summary, going back to the very beginning, what are we going to do to get our bodies ready for sports in general? We're going to eat real food, aiming for 3 meals and a couple of snacks a day so that we're fueling our bodies on a consistent basis, giving them all the nutrients that we need. On game day, we want to aim for carbohydrates before, carbs and protein after for recovery. Refuel during games as we can, especially for events that are an hour or longer. Hydrate. Water, 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 before, during, and after, really important. And then that last piece, the planning. How are you going to put these things into practice? So those are all of the things that I could fit into a presentation that lasts about an hour with time for questions. So I know for some of you, it might have been a lot of information all at one time. I realize I kind of talk quickly sometimes. So this is your opportunity to ask me any questions. And because we're a smaller group, I'm going to say, if you're comfortable with it, just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Or if you want to type it in the chat, you can do that as well. And then if people need to jump off, my email is on here, llovejoy@multicare.org. It's not I Love Joy, it's 2 L's, llovejoy@multicare.org. I mean it when I say that I love to answer questions. So if you have questions about anything that I've said, anything that comes up, anything that comes up as you're telling your mom, your dad, your kid, your teammate about what you learned tonight, feel free to shoot me an email and ask me those questions. I will gladly answer them for you. So what questions do you have for me now? Let me see. I think I can see the chat now. Any good resources for performance plates? Shoot, as you ask that, I have printed out at my home office an athlete's plate. If you, are you talking about foods or a visual resource for that? And maybe somebody is typing. So visual resource for portioning. Yeah, I would say probably go to Google Images is actually the place to find a good visual of that. I can describe it to you. It actually looks much like the MyPlate that is standard, like government-based nutrition education. If you have a plate and you put a line down the middle, one half of that plate ideally should be fruits and vegetables. On the other half, if you draw a line and make it quarters, one of them would be protein and the other one would be some sort of quality carbohydrate. For athletes, that performance, really the takeaway on that is most of it should be carbohydrates. We want to aim for real food, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, things like quinoa, brown rice, potatoes, and then a protein source of some type. Could be a lean meat, could be a dairy food. But there are some fun other resources. I think it was a Canadian one that I printed out. And if that's not answering your question completely, shoot me an email and I will send you the one that I had. Other questions? Are there any sports snacks that are vegan and celiac safe? For someone with celiac disease, I would say you probably are aware of this, but make sure that it is certified gluten-free. That does make things a little bit more complicated. Some things like Rice Krispie Treats. Rice is a grain base. Chex Mix out of corn would be corn based. That would be celiac safe or celiac friendly. Rice cakes and anything rice based would be good, quick, easy, packable. Vegan gets a little bit more challenging, but remembering fruits and vegetables are both vegan and gluten free. So the That's It bars that I mentioned, they would fit that as well. If they need to be vegan and celiac, you need to really pay attention. Vegan could have gluten in it. Celiac could have meat in it, but I'm assuming that you mean both of those. So I would aim for corn-based products. There are a lot of packable snacks that are like corn pops, Pirate's Booty type things. And again, fruits, vegetables, always going to be a safe bet. And anything legume-based, hummus would work. Other questions? I see somebody asked about their recording. That will be sent to you within the week. Right. Thank you very much for your participation. I will hang out for a little bit if people have other questions that they can either, again, unmute yourself and ask it in person or type it in the chat. If you aren't comfortable or you aren't thinking of a question right now, again, feel free to shoot me those questions individually at my email address and I will gladly answer them for you. In the meantime, fuel your bodies well, eat real food, have fun in your sports, and pack your snacks. Thank you.